Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Helen from Crafty So & So. If you don't know me, welcome. If you do know me, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 10 different easy sewing beginner projects. These are all projects that I've done thousands of times, maybe more. It's projects that I've done with my mum, who is in the beginner stage of sewing as well, and a few other people that I know that do sewing, and I found these really simple and really easy to do. The main thing I wanted to say about these projects is that none of them contain a zip or a buttonhole or any kind of fastening. One of the things I found about sewing when I got started was the daunting feeling of inserting a zip or even doing a buttonhole. These are things that today sometimes I still struggle with because, you know, we're all human. And these are things that I think as a beginner you really don't want to have to tackle straight away. These are things that you want to gain the confidence of a sewing project, doing something quite basic, building up your knowledge and using a sewing machine, and then building up to doing something that includes a buttonhole or a zip or just something a little bit more complicated. So all these projects I hand-picked myself because they were simple and easy and quite straightforward. There's nothing that really requires any kind of special tool. So these can be done on the most basic of sewing machines with the most basic scissors that you've got in the kitchen drawer. These are all things that you can do at home, even sew by hand if you really want to get started that way. So the first on my list is a cutlery roll. These can be used for makeup brushes as well, or even just like a little jewellery roll up. The basic principle is there, so you can use it for whatever you want it to be. But this is as simple as using, you know, a couple of fat quarters, if that, sewing machine, scissors, and, you know, a little template if you want to use it, but you really don't have to. There's nothing complicated about this project. What I really liked about this project was really straightforward. You're just using square pieces of fabric to make the cutlery roll. Nothing has to be complicated. You can use a little ribbon to make it look a little tie at the end, but that doesn't have to be hard either. These are really simple to make, and you can make a couple of them, you know, as you're going along. They make great gifts. I actually gave one to my parents for Christmas this year, or last year, that time. You know, 2020 has been a rough year. So I gave one to my parents for Christmas, and because they like to go out walking and hiking, so I found it quite useful. They could, you know, take a few little bits of cutlery with them, wrap it up. I put a little couple of napkins in for them to use, and that was just made it nice because they can use it as a little picnic, or, you know, it's nicely tucked away from the dirty socks and everything else that gets shoved into a backpack when you're hiking. The next on my list is pattern weights. I love, or some people call them sewing weights, whatever you like to call them, weights. That's what we're referring to. I love making these. They are so cute, so fun, and so simple to do. You don't have to have anything special. You can just use normal scissors, some scrap pieces of fabric, you know, some rice to fill them with, or some sort of stuffing or weights. You know, I've got a full blog post on different weights that you can use, you know, whatever you've got lying around in your house that you're not really using. That's perfect. These are really fun to make. You can make them personalised. You can add little like ribbons, so you can use them to hook them onto things, or, you know, grab them easier for when you need to move them. Not the Christmas just gone, the Christmas before, I made a couple of sets for some friends, and they really appreciated them because they also sew, so it was really nice, like little gift to send off to somebody. The pattern weights are really simple to make. They just take a rectangular piece of fabric and it's folded one way, sewn, fill it and sew the top. It looks complicated when you look at them because they're in a triangular pyramid type shape, but actually sewing them, it's really straightforward and really simple to do. So number 3 on my list is a pin cushion. So you can make this any way you want. You can be as fancy as you like, make it into a tree, a house, a sofa, whatever you feel like doing. But as a beginner, do a solid basic square. All you need to do is 2 pieces of square or rectangular fabric, sew them together on 3 sides, leaving one open, turn them through, stuff and sew up that last edge. It's so simple, it doesn't have to be fancy. You know, if you like embroidery, you can embroider it a little, you can use really funky fabrics. You know, you can decide how you want it to look, but the basic structure of the pincushion is just a stuffed square. I loved making these when I first started sewing. They were really simple, really easy. You could make one in, you know, 10-15 minutes if you really wanted. You can make them by hand, which I really love, that, you know, if you sat on the sofa and you just wanted to try and get used to using a thread and a needle and just trying to get used to working with fabrics. I think working by hand can often give you that like one-on-one touch with it to really work out what sits where, how it feels, you know, the stretch of a fabric. So this is a really good project for that. Number 4 on my list is a needle case. So now you've got your pin cushion, why not make a needle case to go along with it? Needle cases are so simple to do, so easy, and you don't have to do anything too complicated. So I made one for my mum earlier this year, and I basically used a rectangular piece of fabric, 2 pieces, sewed them together all around 3 edges, left one edge open, turned it through, ironed it so it was nice and flat and crisp, and then I sewed up that last edge. I then folded that in half to create, that was the outer like pages, like if you think about a book, it was the outer pages of the book. And then I simply created, I think, 2 or 3 pieces of felt, just a little smaller than the outer piece itself, laid them down, and then I sewed right down the middle, folded it in half, and there you go, you've got a needle case. You don't even have to use fabric for the outer piece, you can literally use 4 pieces of felt, sew them down the middle, and then there you're done. You don't have to make it complicated, you can make it as fancy as you like. I put a little heart on mine, like a little patchwork heart, but you know, you can make it to what you want. Also with needle cases, you can find lots of little like cute little designs on Pinterest or on Google or different blogs to give you ideas. If you've made one, you're confident, you want to make another one, what I suggest is like using one of these or a couple of these projects from this list, doing them a few times, and then you can get used to how things are done. You can get a bit quicker, a bit more confident. You know, your first one's never going to be perfect. So if you give yourself the chance to make another one, you'll really get there in the end. So number 5 on my list is a drawstring bag. While you might think this is a little bit up from the rest, yes it is, but it's also very simple to do. Though the structure might seem complicated, it's actually really not. It's really simple and really easy to follow. I've got a really handy step-by-step tutorial. I'll leave the links to all these in the description below. But the premises of the drawstring bag is really simple. All you need is 2 pieces of fabric and some string or ribbon to thread through at the end, and you're done. It's as simple as that. You can make these by hand or even on the sewing machine, whichever way you find easier. They're really simple to do. Number 6 on my list is a tote bag. Tote bags are simple, practical, easy to make, and you can put any kind of embellishment design on it that you want. Use the funkiest of fabrics you can find. You know, you can use your Cricut to print on it if you want. These things can be so personalised, so fun to make, and make great gifts for anybody. Tote bags really easy to make because all you want to do is use 2 rectangular pieces of fabric, sew them together, and then you need 2 straps or even just 1 strap round at the top, sew them in place, and then you're done. It's as simple as that. You can do it by hand if you really want. I suggest using a sewing machine, especially if you want to use the bag when you go out shopping. You don't want your straps to fall off and break in the middle of you carrying your shopping home. So if you use a sewing machine, you can go over the straps a few more times just to give it a little bit extra strength. So number 7 on my list is reusable makeup remover pads. I've been making these for probably about 2 years now. I got really fed up of using the cotton pads or face wipes, pre-packed face wipes, so I decided to move over to a fabric alternative which would last longer. I'd be able to wash them along with the rest of my washing, and they'd just be better for me, easier to use, and so far I've really enjoyed using them. They've been such a change to how my skin feels, been so much better for my budget. I don't have to think about, you know, restocking up on wipes or cotton buds or anything like that. They are just there ready to use for me. The reusable makeup remover pads are really simple to do, as they're just 2 pieces of square fabric. You can make these to, you know, whatever size you want, as small as you like or as big as you like. They can be square or they can be round, whichever works for you. I like doing square because they're a little bit easier to put together. So I like to do 2 pieces, roughly about this, you know, kind of shape, about 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches. 2 pieces of fabric, sew them together, leave a gap on one side, turn them through, sew up that last edge, top stitch around just to give them some extra durability when you're using them, and there you go, they're done. I made a pack, I think of like 16 one time, didn't take me that long, and I really enjoyed doing it. You don't need anything but the fabric, the scissors and a sewing machine. These are also great because you don't need a lot of fabric to make them. You can just use scrap fabric pieces that you have, any that you've curated over time, or even just like a lot of fat quarters that you've kind of just had. You can, you know, cut them into strips and into squares, and there you go. I also used some old material, old fabrics, old clothing works really well, especially if you've got like towels or cotton jersey, that's really good to use, or even like a linen, which is really good for your skin anyway. You can use that. I used an old linen skirt for one of mine and they worked out really well. So number 8 on my list is fabric buckets. Again, you might think these are a little stretched, might be a little hard for someone who's really beginning, but they're not. They're really simple to do, really easy. Once you've got the basics down, you can continuously make these like you're in a factory. They're quite addictive to do. They look really cute and you can make them look so personalised and so fun. I made a set for my sister this year. She was having a little boy, so to dress up the nursery, I made a little set for her to put some of his little things in, and they look really cute. With these, again, all you're going to need is some fat quarters or some larger scrap pieces of fabric to make them. You really want to just kind of slightly sew them together. You have a little hole in the bottom, you can turn them through, put a little edging on, you know, you can put like a little hoop of fabric or ribbon to hook them onto things. You could do all kinds of different things, or even put like some wire in the top to give them a bit more rigidity. But whichever works for you, these are really simple to do and really easy and fun, and they make great gifts. Number 9 on this list is, of course, bunting. Everybody loves bunting. It's like one of the most popular things to sew, especially when you're getting started, because it's so simple, so fun and so good to do. Bunting is really fun to create. It's really simple. You can use some scrap fabric again, or you can use some fat quarters. Create yourself some bias binding, or even use ribbon if you don't want to use bias binding to get started, because even then that might be a little step forward for you. But using some ribbon or some string, and you can just create this lovely little bunting, hang it up in your sewing room or your kid's bedroom, and it looks really cute. It's really practical and really fun. You can also tell with bunting that it's kind of like an instant gratification. You spend this time making this product and then you hang it up and you think, oh, I'm so proud of myself. And it's so fun, so nice, and I love that kind of feeling because it spurs you on to make you want to do more. The last on my list is number 10, and that is a fabric crown. So I made these a couple of years ago and absolutely loved them, and I've been making them for my nieces and nephews. I have 4 now, so I've got plenty to keep me busy. I like making them for their little, you know, like they've got a little Wendy house at my mum's house that they play in. They've got like a little dressing up boxes. The girls obviously like to be princesses, so it's perfect for making these, and they're really durable. You can throw them in the wash if they get ice cream or, you know, sweets stuck to them or anything. They're easy to care for, and you can just, you know, they're really simple to make. The fabric crowns are probably one of the more complicated things on this list, but they're definitely worth trying, especially if you've kind of gone through this list and be like, yeah, I'm confident with that now, I'm confident with this now, let's try something a little bit more complicated or a little bit further up on the scale. I think sometimes with projects that they jump far too much and there's not enough variant in the middle for you to kind of still work and gain your confidence going through. These are perfect for that because they're a different shape, that you're using something that, you know, you draw out the template, you've got full control of what you think you can manage. But basically it's just like a rectangle with some spikes at the top, and then you can put some ribbon to tie at the ends, and it's really simple, really easy to do, and so fun, especially when you've made all your crowns. So there you have it, my top 10 beginner sewing projects. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a wealth of information and somewhere to start, especially if you're really starting from the beginning. I hope these are projects that you can keep going with and practice more and build up your skills to give you a bit more confidence going forward. If you've got any questions, or if you want to know any more about any kind of sewing projects, leave me a comment below, like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye!